Today I'm going to be showing you how to put these ISR coils onto this R32. First step, get yourself an extra large Dunkin' Donuts coffee because America runs on this shit. Now before I even get to the vehicle aspect of this, I like to lay the coilovers out and basically measure from this top hat down to where the bottom of the strut is, just so I can get them pretty much even before I install them. That way I know how many rotations I have to go up or down depending on where the car's sitting. It's a shitty tape measure, but gets the job done. So just butt up to there, make sure the top hats are straight. So butt up to there, looking straight down, we got about 8 1/4. This side we got about 8 3/8. So I'm going to drop that one down 1/8 of an inch. And then in the rears, see, make sure you're on that top hat. Come down, you got about 11 1/4. Same thing on this side, 11 1/4. So rears are good. Front, I'm just going to drop 1/8 of an inch and then get ready for the install aspect. Another thing I like to check before I install them is the preload on the spring. I'm pretty sure ISR already sets the preload for you to like the factory settings. So I'm not going to touch the preload on it. I'm going to install them, adjust the height, and let the customer give it a ride, see if he wants to go a little stiffer, a little softer, or if he's happy with how it is. Now I'd normally be using the lift, but we got a big turbo M50 E36 up here for a crazy oil leak, so jack and jack stands it is. Alright, so step one, I'm going to start with the front. Jack up, the front, should be able to do that. And I recommend putting wheels underneath there because I was helping my buddy out and the car actually fell off of the jack and the wheel saved my leg. So, but yeah. So what we're going to be working with is these two bolts up here and this bolt right here. Since I'm working by myself, there's no one else in the shop. What I like to do is loosen up the bolts. These two, I believe, are 12 millimeter. Boop, nope, they're 14. Okay, so you want a 14 millimeter and 19 millimeter down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the jack underneath the knuckle. That way, once the spring goes, everything doesn't come sliding out. 2 nuts are out. 3rd nut's out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the jack while holding it and guiding it out. Putting a new coilover in, you want to slide the bottom in first. Make sure the top holes line up with these studs, and then give it a little jack until it's flush. First side is done. You can see how much higher the wheel sits in the wheel well, but yeah, pretty easy. 3 bolts, pop the wheel off. Blah, blah, blah. Other side, same exact way. Pop this bottom nut off, pop these 2 top bolts off, slide it out, slide the new one in, throw it back together. Got the front situated and installed, so moving on to the rear. Got it jacked up. And this is where things get a little tricky with the top hat bolts. First things first, gonna remove the trunk, liner, carpet, whatever you want to call it. Don't take the trunk off. Next, you're gonna want to remove this trim piece. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Phillips head clips. Pop them off, pull that off. After you get that trim piece off, it's actually 2 pieces. Put it somewhere safe. And we're going to remove this side panel. So you got 1 clip here, 1 clip here, 1 here, and 1 here. Doesn't have any more that I can see on this side. So yeah, those 4. And on this side you got another screwdriver clip. It's actually not doing anything. And 1 more here and here you got to take off. So 4 Phillips screwdrivers and 4 just pop-ins. Alright, so you can see that whole thing is 1 piece with that little guy sitting right here. So after that's off, exposes this. See, there's 1 clip here, Should be it for that side. This side looks like it just comes right out. Take this out too, just to give us a little more room. So yeah, that side just swings around. Get off that little hook, and you can access top hat bolts. Same thing with this side. Pop this clip off, like so. Don't lose the clip. With this piece, and this side should just swing out. Yep. This side I already got done. I ended up just blasting through it, but we're going to be doing this side. So after you expose the top hat bolts, they're 12 millimeters up here, and then down here on the bottom of the strut is a 17. Now this wishbone is going to get in your way. I'm going to show you how to get around that. What you're going to want to do, take the two top hat nuts off, take the bottom 17 off, and you're going to run into something like this, where it's not going to slide all the way off the knuckle, and you're going to be pretty much locked in. So what we're going to do is take this upper control arm bolt out. They're 19s, and we're just going to give it a little tap out of the way, and we should be able to slide this right out. Next, you want to pop this 19 off. I already got it pretty much out. And what I do is give this a little tap down so you can see it swings out, and work it out the bottom. Now new coilover going up the same way, and then I guess this is a good time to point out that the aftermarket upper control arms are only half a wishbone. The factory ones are a full circle, oval, whatever. But if you do have factory arms, which this is I think the first I've seen on the R32 chassis because everyone swaps them. If you do put coilovers on it and keep the stock arms, your alignment, 99% chance it's not going to be able to line up as far as toe and camber wise, because what it has are these are the adjustments back here, the centric rings on the upper control arm and the little toe arm in the rear trailing arm. They're not going to be able to adjust properly with the suspension sitting, 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, however low you want to go, higher than its factory placement. So if you are doing coilovers, I highly recommend, even running the ISR arms. They're actually really nice, the pro arms. I've been running them for years on my 240. They're really great. They're heim joints on each end, which allow you to give full adjustability to basically whatever, you want. So, new coilover, going up through the bottom, through the upper control arm. And how I'm going to do this, I'm going to get it on that bottom piece first, put the nut on, a couple threads if I can find it. And you can see I got the jack set up because we're definitely going to need that. So just get that on a few threads. And another thing I'm going to do is line this bolt back up, because once you get it up where it's supposed to be, it's a pain in the ass because it's not going to want to sit right. Alright, now as we're jacking up, we're going to line up these holes with the studs on the coilover. Then you're going to take the nuts and you just throw them on finger tight for now. And also real quick, you're going to notice this doesn't work anymore. So it's trash. Let the jack down, tighten up all your nuts and bolts, and then move on to measuring the height. So the car's sitting back on the ground. We're going to take some measurements for height, see if how much we're off. A lot of people go from the center of the fender lip. I don't like to, just because chances are anyone getting coilovers put on probably had coilovers put on and it's rolled or messed up, so I try and go off the body line. So even though it's the fender, as long as this body line lines up, this should be straight and level. In the back, as long as there's no quarter panel damage, gonna go off the top of the body line back here. I'm gonna measure straight down from about in between the badge. We're at about 15 and a 32nd. So that's right in the middle of the badge, straight down. 15 and a 32nd. Line it up straight down, middle of the badge. We're at about 15 and a quarter. So the other side's got to come up about an eighth. Moving on to the rear is the passenger side. I'm just gonna, eyeball center. We're at about 15 and 5/32, 15 and a quarter. So we'll call it 15 and a quarter on the passenger side. We're at about almost a 15 and a half. So we're at 15 and 7/16. So other side needs to come up about an eighth of an inch, a little more than an eighth. So, all right, we'll adjust this side up about an eighth. We'll adjust the other side up about 5/32 or so. So we're at the driver's side front, doing a measure from the top hat down. We're at about 8 and a quarter, so we're going to bring that down to 8 and a half. Coilover kit should have came with some spanner wrenches, a small one and a big one. Big one's used for this collar, the small one's used for these two. So to raise this, we're going to use a small spanner, put it on here, and you can see the whole assembly's turning. So we're going to bring it up to where I think about 1/8 inches and double check the measurement. Off the top hat, we are just at 8 and a half. So we're going to tighten that up using this collar and spinning it down. Now, if the whole assembly starts to twist, you're going to want to grab the big one and hold it back like that. I hate those dogs. So you're going to get nice and snug. You don't got to go crazy with it. Alright, same thing off the bottom, center with the emblem. We're right at 15 and a quarter going off the top of that body line. Straight down. I know I'm terrible at filming, just bear with me. We're at 15 and a quarter right to the top of that line. So now we know the front's good, we can leave the other side. We're just going to tighten up the lower collar on this to make sure the coilover doesn't move. Alright, we're at the rear. It's a little tight back here, you can't really see the collar. So what I'm going to do is measure off the top hat and use this hole as a guide. So right now we're at 12 and 3/4. We need to go up 1/4 inch, so we're going to get that hole centered at 13. Also, I'm not sure if I mentioned it at the front, but you want to tighten up these collars too. You want to take the small one, spin this way, take the top one, and spin this way, just so they spin together. So we're going to spin this one counterclockwise, put it up about 1/4 inch. So we adjusted it up, coming off, center the hole at 13. So we're going to drop it down. We'll tighten up this bottom collar, drop it down, and double check the height. Alright, this is the driver's side, just double checking. Straight down, center with the quarter panel, right at 15 and a half. Over to the passenger side. Center with the quarter panel, right at 15 and a half. The only thing we need to do, go over to this side, tighten up all the collars, and then move on to dampening. So now that the height's adjusted, last thing I'm going to do is set the dampening. I'm going to give you these little knobs. You got to insert them on the top of the coilover. This bottom one screws it tight. And since these are 32 way, what I'm going to do is spin it all the way to one way and then go back 16 clicks. That way it's centered for him because he's daily driving it. I don't know if he wants a softer or harder ride, so I'm just going to set it in the middle for him, and then he can always adjust it as necessary. Driver front's done, passenger front. I'll show you what I did. Basically just spun it all the way to one side, like so, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then tighten up this bottom. So now that's centered at 16. And then notice how in the rear I didn't put the interior back in yet because the knobs are on top. So same thing, crank it all the way to one side, 16 clicks back, should be centered. If this was your car, I'd recommend taking it for a drive before you put the interior back in. That way you don't have to rip everything out if you don't like the ride. But as for me, I'm putting it back in because it's a customer's car and he's going to want to take it, drive it, and then probably come back once the coilovers settle in, because they are going to drop a little bit once they settle. So I'm going to throw it back together and then get it ready for pickup. So the Skyline ride height set, dampening set, ready for an alignment. Like I said, the rear arms I highly recommend getting aftermarket. I'm sure the customer will. But this is how he wanted it for now. It's his daily driver, so he didn't want it too low, but just give it that little aggressive look. Yeah, so just, you know, drive it. If you think it's a little soft, stiffen it up. If you think it's a little stiff, soften it up, and just put it to your liking. So yeah, be sure to subscribe. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff out of this garage, especially with this Evo. But yeah.